Episode 56 YV October 12, 2024. Canadian critique of fossil fuel ads is interrupted by a wood-burning ad. In Episode 56 YV 1 World 2, United States 2J United States. Daikin Advances to final stage in U.S. Department of Energy's residential cold climate heat pump challenge. 3 California heat pump rebates will lower utility bills and provide clean home heating as cheaper alternative indoor residential wood burning. 4 Colorado 5 Illinois 6 Massachusetts map of proposed and threatened air pollution of Frankenstein permit described biomass wood burning plant. 7 Minnesota 8 Nevada 9 New Jersey 10 Canada. Canadian critique of fossil fuel ads is interrupted by a wood burning ad. 11 United Kingdom 12 India 13 South Korea 14 p.m. 2.5 and human health. Main content. 1 World including Indonesia, Japan, and South Korea. Rush to burn wood for energy threatens forests and communities. RAWSEP View of key excerpts. A letter signed by more than 500 scientists and economists in 2021 warned that the European Commission's mandate to increase renewable energy by 20% would create a model that encourages tropical countries to cut more of their forests. And historically, the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change UNFCCC and the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change IPCC carbon accounting excludes forest biomass from the energy sector, along with emissions from the destruction of long-established forests. RAWSEP View. This article does not emphasize the adverse health effects on humans of wood-burning emissions, but this article primarily addresses the decimation of forests, which in its own way hastens climate change. PM 2.5 emissions from wood-burning also hasten climate change. Excerpts edited by RAWSEP for brevity and clarity in relationship to Residents Against Wood Smoke Emission Particulates, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Mighty Earth. Rush to burn wood for energy threatens forests and communities. 10/October/2024. Wood energy will increase CO2 levels in the short run and could trigger irreversible climate impacts. Biomass power plants emit 50% to 60% more CO2 per megawatt-hour than modern coal plants. Burning wood with coal further increases carbon emissions and would require significant amounts of wood for most coal plants. Rush to burn wood for energy threatens forests and communities. October 10, 2024. Indonesian, Japanese, and South Korean policies and subsidies are supporting a false climate solution which could drive massive deforestation and forest degradation, reveals new research released at ASEAN Summit. Jakarta, October 10, 2024. New maps and analysis show more than 10 million hectares of intact tropical forests in Indonesia, equivalent to over 8 million FIFA football pitches, are threatened by the growth of the false climate solution of burning wood for energy. Launched during the Summit of Southeast Nations, ASEAN, the report, Unheeded Warnings. Forest Biomass Threats to Tropical Forests in Indonesia and Southeast Asia, co-published by Earth Insight, Auriga Nusantara, Forest Watch Indonesia, Trend Asia, Solutions for Our Climate, and Mighty Earth documents the menace to tropical forests from the demand for wood pellets and chips by wood-to-energy plants, particularly in Japan, South Korea, and Indonesia. Field investigations document massive forest impacts where forests once stood near a wood pellet plant and show more than 1,000 hectares of primary forest were cleared last year for wood pellet exports to South Korea and Japan in Gorontalo. Community opposition is emerging here and elsewhere. Wood energy goals threaten tropical forests. Co-publisher Trend Asia estimates that meeting Indonesia's co-firing mandate could require 10.23 million tons of wood pellets a year supplied by forests the size of 3.27 million football fields. It would accelerate deforestation as high as 2.1 million hectares a year. Carbon accounting loopholes drive wood energy demand. Historically, UNFCCC and IPCC carbon accounting excludes forest biomass from the energy sector, along with emissions from the destruction of long-established forests. Wood energy will increase CO2 levels in the short run and could trigger irreversible climate impacts. Biomass power plants emit 50% to 60% more CO2 per megawatt-hour than modern coal plants. Burning wood with coal further increases carbon emissions and would require significant amounts of wood for most coal plants. Carbon debt payback time is how long it takes regrowth to remove carbon emissions after wood is burned for energy. If wood displaces coal, the carbon debt payback time is estimated between 40 and 115 years. Payback estimates for tropical forests range from 30 to 120 years for non-peat soils, and more than 900 years for forests growing on peatlands in Southeast Asia. Quote from the Senior Director, Forest Commodities, Mighty Earth. Japan's insatiable demand for wood pellets for its biomass program is driving the destruction of Southeast Asia's forests at a time when, more than ever, we need standing forests to mitigate global heating and nature loss. The Japanese government is betting big on biomass and sees it as a means of achieving its commitment to carbon neutrality by 2050, but this strategy is riddled with flaws. Biomass is not carbon neutral, it's a carbon nightmare, emitting more emissions than coal. For Japan to realize its climate goals and protect Southeast Asian forests, it needs to stop subsidizing this dead-end technology and invest, instead, in truly scalable and sustainable forms of renewable energy. 2A United States. Ford is giving away the awesome device many EV owners use to keep the lights. The cool down. Vehicle-to-home charging, or V2H, uses bidirectional charging to feed an EV battery's power back into your house, and Ford is giving it away. 2B United States. Heat pumps get more affordable with Special Electric Rates. Energy News Network. A heat pump with some snow on top. Credit, Catherine Krauchik. Energy News Network. Heat pumps produce far fewer emissions than gas oil and other. 2C United States. Cashing in on heat pumps. A primer on incentives, rebates, and tax credits. ACHR News. With heat pump and incentives almost being synonymous at this point, contractors need to understand the basics to ensure customers are. 2D United States. Maximize compressor heat pump performance and lifespan. Contracting business. Read this FAQ to learn the impact of A2L refrigerants on heat pumps and compressor design. 2E United States. Home energy tax credit usage. Eye on housing. Approximately 2.3 million tax returns filed for tax year 2023 utilize the Energy Efficient Home Improvement Credit, 25C tax credit, according to 2F United States. The government is giving homeowners $10,000 for this magic home heating upgrade. The cool down. Heat pumps can regulate the temperature in your home using a fraction of the energy AC units and radiators do. According to Energy.gov, they use only. The Inflation Reduction Act is providing substantial subsidies to help Americans lower their energy bills and fight climate change. MSN. It's the U.S. government's biggest investment in the fight against our changing climate. One of the biggest ways homeowners can benefit is by 2G United States. Upgrade chilling equipment to industrial heat pumps. Food engineering. Heat pump system. Heat pumps typically incur lower maintenance costs due to their simpler integrated design. They operate by transferring heat rather. 2H United States. Modeling of a space heating and cooling system with seasonal energy storage. ScienceDirect.com full coverage. 2I United States. Medea showcases heat pump innovation at 2024 Energy Star Products Partner Meeting. ACHR News. At a national gathering of energy efficiency leaders, Medea introduced its newest heat pump technologies and took part in important discussions on 2J United States. Daikin advances to final stage in U.S. Department of Energy's Residential Cold Climate Heat Pump Challenge. Contracting business. The goal of this challenge aligns with Daikin's commitment to provide R32 inverter heat pumps to all North American climate zones. Daikin heat pump passes latest cold climate test. Cooling post. Heat pump technology challenge after the successful completion of multiple field tests. Launched in 2021, the DOE's Residential Cold Climate Heat Pump. Daikin advances to final stage in DOE Residential Cold Climate Heat Pump Challenge. PHCP Pros. The goal of this challenge aligns with Daikin's commitment to provide high-performance, low global warming potential, GWP, R32 inverter heat pump. Daikin advances to final phase of heat pump challenge. ACHR News. The Residential Cold Climate Heat Pump Technology Challenge aims to foster collaboration among manufacturers, utilities, and other stakeholders too. 3 California heat pump rebates will lower utility bills and provide clean home heating as cheaper alternative indoor residential wood burning. 3A California. Warehouses drive air pollution spike in California. NASA study finds. Newsweek. The scientists measured PM 2.5 and elemental carbon from 2000 until 2018 and 2019 respectively and used data from a real estate database about the 3B California Humboldt County. Update. Wood fire in Humboldt County is now fully contained. Merced Sunstar. Wood fire initially started 7:57 p.m. October 6th in Humboldt County. Since its discovery 3 days ago, it has burned 26.4 acres. The fire crew managed. Sacramento B. Initial location, Wood Ranch Road and Redwood Drive southwest of Phillipsville. Humboldt County, California. Fire Unit. Cal Fire Humboldt Del Norte Unit. 3C California. Los Angeles. Breaking. New wildfire reported in Los Angeles County on October 9th. Merced Sunstar. The wildfire has been burning on private land. Currently update. Wood fire in Humboldt County remains 100% contained as of Wednesday evening. 3D California. New energy efficiency rebates available to Californians. Environment America. Federally funded rebates for energy efficiency and electrification upgrades now available for multifamily buildings. 3E California. Representative Carbajal celebrates launch of Federal Home Energy Rebate Program. EDHAT. Congressman Salud Carbajal, CA24, is celebrating the launch of the first phase of California's first Federal Home Energy Rebates Program to help 3F California. California to roll out Home Energy Rebates Program. Rig Zone. The administration of Governor Gavin Newsom is launching the Home Electrification and Appliance Rebates, here, portion of the program. The state will. 3G California. Amid skyrocketing utility bills, California Congressman Josh Harder announces relief for Sierra Sun Times. PG&E just raised rates for the 4th time this year. Bills have more than doubled since 2014. New rebate program will save San Joaquin County. 4A Colorado. Colorado Springs enacting burn restrictions effective Friday. What this means for you. KKTV trash/rubbish. 4B Colorado Grand Junction. Printed letters. October 10th, 2024. GJSentinel.com. These are the purple air monitors. These devices measure PM 2.5, which is particulate matter 2.5 microns and smaller. For reference, 2.5 microns is 5 Illinois Chicago. Edison converts 450 homes to all electric through Whole Home Electric program. The Citizen newspaper group. Edison is proud to work hand in hand with partners like Elevate and Bickerdike to deliver innovative clean energy technologies to communities that Indonesia. Indonesia's woodburning energy push fuels deforestation crisis. TRT World. Indonesia's push to add woodburning to its energy mix and exports is driving deforestation, including in key habitats for endangered species such. Indonesia biomass drive threatens key forests. Report Yahoo. Indonesia's push to add woodburning to its energy mix and exports is driving deforestation, including in key habitats for endangered species such. Taipei Times. Indonesia's push to add woodburning to its energy mix and exports is producing the wood pellets and chips used for co-fire coal plants. 6 Massachusetts. 15-year fight over woodburning power plant stokes fears of Franken permit in this Mass city. Mass Live. Springfield Palmer Renewable Energy is still, 15 years later, fighting to build a power plant burning green wood in an East Springfield neighborhood. RAWSEP was unable to read this story, but the map of the proposed plant was visible to non-subscribers. 7 Minnesota. Bogus lake fire is real and burning in Cook County. Duluth News Tribune. The 45-acre wood lake fire detected in the Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness on September 10th has been burning for almost a month, though its growth. 8 Nevada Douglas County. Burn season opens on Monday, serving Minden, Gardnerville, and Carson Valley. The Record Courier. Despite the heat, the odor of wood smoke hangs in the air over Carson Valley, a sure sign that fall burning has begun. A big agricultural burn. 9 New Jersey Bergen County. Cat rescued from burning home in Wood Ridge. Pascack Valley Daily Voice. Cat rescued from burning home in Wood Ridge. Firefighters and police officers saved a cat from a burning home Wednesday evening, October 9th in Bergen. 10 Canada. Canada's 2 largest cities are cracking down on fossil fuel ads. RAWSEP View. It is more than merely ironic that in the middle of this article on cracking down on fossil fuel ads, a Canadian broadcasting corporation runs an advertisement for polluting wood burning, which is even more air polluting than fossil fuel burning. Wood burning emits 2.8 times the PM2.5 in CO2 as the fossil fuel coal burning. Wood burning emits 450 times the PM2.5 as the fossil fuel natural gas burning. As commenter Alma Hislop comments, your article on the dangers of ultra-fine particles, UFBs, missed a common source. Residential wood burning. 1,000 premature deaths per year in Toronto and Montreal? Cancer, heart disease, diabetes, dementia? Why not ask what living in a fog of wood smoke does to the health of those in remote and indigenous communities? Also ask why we voluntarily pollute our homes and neighborhoods by burning wood recreationally in fireplaces and backyard fire pits. The gratuitous Canadian Broadcasting Corporation CBC advertisement by a government-paid radio host wood burner in the midst of this article was the outright lie about wood burning. At https://www.cbc.ca/player/play/audio/9.6528065 in CBC's media audio. What on earth? A climate fix that starts with, hi diddly ho neighborino caption. When natural disasters hit home, knowing your neighbors could be a lifeline. Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, is leading the way in creating climate resilience on a hyperlocal level. We hear how something as simple as a neighborhood bonfire can build support networks and mobilize communities to fight climate change. The fact that the ad is from Alberta, a Canadian province which has a right-wing slant with first allegiance to company profits above country, and the fossil fuel ad bans are in Quebec and Ontario, which are Canadian provinces that have more of a center-left slant, called the Liberal Party in Canada, probably explains how this ad for wood burning on a Canadian Broadcast Corporation radio station located in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, came to be inserted here. An Alberta radio host knew the article was about a ban on fossil fuel ads. The radio host hurried out with some outright lie that wood burning is an answer to climate change. RAWSEP View. Yes, wood burning hastens climate change faster than fossil fuel burning, but the radio host wants to imply the opposite, or may baldly state the lie rather than just implying it. The radio host, in fact, wants to tell a big lie. RAWSEP View. The word garbage dump of this radio program shows how someone is trying to differentiate between fossil fuel pollution as bad and wood burning pollution as good, and even lying and linking wood burning to community building, and somehow in some unexplained way lying and linking wood burning to fighting climate change. Sadly, in reality, the only difference between the PM2.5 emission levels of fossil fuel burning and wood burning is that wood burning emits at least 2.8 times the PM2.5 emissions as the fossil fuel coal burning, and wood burning emits 450 times the PM2.5 emissions as the fossil fuel natural gas burning. How outrageous but predictable if this CBC podcast may promote the lie that fossil fuel burning is worse than wood burning. Perhaps the city of Edmonton and the province of Alberta and Canada advertisers are learning that the big lie sells south of their border in presidential and vice presidential debates, and so why not try to get away with big lies about polluting wood burning for big wood burning industry profits up in Alberta, Canada? Look at the big lies from the Republican United States presidential and vice presidential candidates about no government help for victims of Helene and Milton hurricanes in the U.S. South. That only harms the people in the hurricane's paths who are scared away from asking for government help that in reality is generous and kind. Similarly, the big lies about wood burning being less polluting than fossil fuel burning harm the people in the path of wildfire wood burning smoke, as well as those near neighbors in the hyperlocal path of indoor residential wood burning smoke. Unlike wildfire wood smoke, the average person in Canada has control over whether they will choose to create air pollution from indoor residential wood burning. Indoor residential wood burning, not to mention neighborhood bonfires, and unbelievably this ad runs in the middle of wildfire season, which doubles the air pollution harms the people in the path of indoor residential wood smoke. If by believing the big lie, Albertans and people across Canada who find radio ads persuasive are somehow scared away from applying for a government offer of heat pump rebates which would enable them to move away from air polluting wood burning for home heating, that would only harm fellow Canadian, heightening their neighbors' risks for illnesses from lung cancer, other cancers, asthma and early deaths, and costing the Canadian healthcare system and individuals with high healthcare bills from their illnesses more money. Wood burning is 90% PM2.5, particulate matter of 2.5 micrometer size, the perfect size to infiltrate the human lungs, setting off a cascade of human health problems and early deaths. The recent article in the Canadian press from a wildfire firefighter who invented a respirator out of fear of wood smoke's effect on the firefighter's own health should have educated some people in Canada that wood smoke is not good for your health. PM2.5 also hastens climate change. Heat pumps also double as air conditioners. Climate change also heats the planet, and air conditioners are destined to be necessities even in Canada because of climate change. From the article and comments on the article. Excerpts edited by RAWSEP for brevity and clarity in relationship to Residents Against Wood Smoke Emission Particulates, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. CBC News. Wood burning. Why not ask what living in a fog of wood smoke does to the health of those in remote and indigenous communities? What's next? Montreal and Toronto have both taken steps to limit advertising for oil and gas on their subways, buses, and streetcars. Toronto City Council is also considering a motion to restrict fossil fuel advertising on city property. Canada's two largest cities are cracking down on fossil. Caption at Oilsands Action posted this TTC streetcar ad on the social media platform X. Such ads now need to be reviewed to make sure they follow the Canadian Code of Advertising Standards. Montreal and Toronto have both taken steps to limit advertising for oil and gas on their subways, buses, and streetcars. And this week, Toronto City Council passed a motion to restrict fossil fuel advertising on city property. The president of the Canadian Association of Physicians for the Environment, CAPE, called Toronto's decision Thursday a landmark win. This bold move signals the end of unchecked fossil fuel advertising and positions Toronto at the forefront of a global shift, said the family doctor in Vancouver. She called the moves by Toronto and Montreal early but significant steps toward tighter restrictions countrywide. We want to take a stand, and even if it's a lonely stand at first, show the rest of the country that we don't want more harmful advertising driven by fossil fuel companies. The CAPE Group, which represents 700,000 healthcare workers in Canada, has been pushing for advertising restrictions similar to those on tobacco products, arguing the burning of fossil fuels has significant impacts on health, from polluting to the broader impacts of climate change. The Montreal Transit Authority, known as the Société de Transport de Montréal (STM), has new guidelines that will limit but not outright ban oil and gas-related advertisements on its metros and buses. The ads must be reviewed to ensure they are evidence-based and don't amount to greenwashing, a blanket term for misleading statements about an industry or product's environmental record. We wish to contribute to the financing of public transit in a responsible manner, which is why it is so important to establish clear guidelines against greenwashing practices in advertising, a representative from Transgesco, which handles advertising for STM, said. Similarly, the Toronto Transit Commission, TTC, adopted a motion last month banning misleading fossil fuel advocacy advertising. The motion singles out Pathways Alliance, which represents major oil sands producers, and Canada Action, another fossil fuel lobby group, both of which have run advertisements on Toronto streetcars. Greenpeace filed a complaint with the Competition Bureau over the Pathways ad, which proclaimed its net zero plan is in motion. Going forward, any proposed advertising by these groups will be put to a review to make sure they follow the Canadian Code of Advertising Standards, which states that advertisements must not distort the true meaning of statements made by professionals or scientific authorities. A woman Toronto City Councillor who introduced the TTC motion said the changes are an attempt to put an end to greenwashing. Fossil fuel groups were quick to denounce the TTC motion. The founder of Canada Action said the motion was an attempt to further divide the public on important issues of public interest around Canada's natural resource abundance. RAWSEP believes Canada Action is referring only to fossil fuels used for burning here, not wood for burning, but RAWSEP is not 100% sure since both fossil fuels and forests could each be considered a Canadian natural resource. Abundance of a product that can be sold for profit is not the issue, although Canadian forests are being decimated for burning when there are clean alternatives for energy production in 2024 which are cheaper methods of energy generation, such as wind and solar generation. The issue is that, like cigarette smoking emissions, wood-burning emissions produce human health problems and early deaths, and in addition wood-burning contributes to hastening climate change. The Liberal government introduced new rules aimed at cracking down on greenwashing earlier this year, prompting pushback from fossil fuel industry groups and some of them to strip their websites of their environmental commitments. The NDP wants to go further, banning misleading fossil fuel advertising altogether. Benjamin Shingler, CBC, check out our podcast and radio show. In our newest episode, Media Audio What on Earth? A climate fix that starts with, Hi diddly ho neighborino caption. When natural disasters hit home, knowing your neighbors could be a lifeline. Edmonton is leading the way in creating climate resilience on a hyperlocal level. We hear how something as simple as a neighborhood bonfire can build support networks and mobilize communities to fight climate change. What on Earth? Drops new podcast episodes every Wednesday and Saturday. You can find them on your favorite podcast app or on demand at CBC Listen. The radio show airs Sundays at 11 a.m., 11:30 a.m. in Newfoundland and Labrador. Reader feedback. Last week, Anand Ram wrote about seniors protesting for more action on climate change. Tony O'Brien responded, I am a senior. Whether we are cooking a meal, throwing out a worn-out bedsheet, or taking our children to school, there is always something that can be done to reduce, reuse, and last choice, recycle. We can make a difference because we must. Government must help. We must do. Peter Prontos had a different response. Yes, we should be more conscious consumers, but the most important thing that individuals can do is to work together to create the public movements that could take on the lies and the power of big business, and by doing so actually change policies before it's too late. Alma Hislop had a few thoughts on last week's The Big Picture. Your article on the dangers of ultra-fine particles, UFBs, missed a common source. Residential wood burning. 1,000 premature deaths per year in Toronto and Montreal? Cancer, heart disease, diabetes, dementia? Why not ask what living in a fog of wood smoke does to the health of those in remote and indigenous communities? Also ask why we voluntarily pollute our homes and neighborhoods by burning wood recreationally in fireplaces and backyard fire pits. She also suggested that the article on the coal phase-out in the UK contains an embedded piece of greenwashing by not mentioning that a significant portion of the UK's renewable energy comes from burning biomass in the form of wood pellets. It's true that biomass makes up about 9% of electricity generation in the UK. Here Alma Hislop pointed to the UK electricity generation chart at https://grid.imk.com, which shows UK 9% of electricity generation in the UK is from biomass wood-burning industrial plants. The commenter Alma Hislop went on to comment that, however, it isn't considered by the country's electrical network to be renewable energy. RAWSEP View. There could be a correction to the comment statement made by Alma Hislop that the UK does not count biomass burning as renewable. Is the point Alma Hislop is making that, like every country in the world today, the UK does not need to count polluting emissions from biomass wood burning and reductions of those biomass wood burning emissions in the UK in an official count of polluting emissions when calculating whether the UK is meeting its climate goals? This worldwide allowed erasure of evidence of air pollution from wood burning is justified by the scientifically debunked theory of carbon neutrality of wood burning. See https://grid.imk.com where UK industrial biomass is counted, but UK indoor residential wood burning is not counted toward meeting climate goals. Write us at What on Earth at CBC. I have a compelling personal story about climate change you want to share with CBC News? Pitch a first-person column here. 11 United Kingdom Scotland. SNP's unexpected U-turn on wood-burning stove policy. The Scottish farmer. The SNP's decision to reverse the wood-burning stove ban has sparked mixed reactions across rural communities. RAWSEP was unable to read this article without a subscription. 12A India Delhi. Despite excess rain this monsoon, average PM 2.5 levels were highest since 2021 in Delhi NCR. Times now. Delhi's PM 25 concentration level. 12B India. Health impacts of air pollution on children. A growing crisis during festivals by Dr. P.S. Bakshi. Yes, Punjab. PM 2.5 and PM 10 levels during Diwali every year. In 2023, Delhi's air quality deteriorated to a hazardous level with PM 2.5 concentrations, 0.13 South Korea. Estimation of nighttime PM 2.5 concentrations over Seoul using Suomi NPP/VirursDay/Nightband ScienceDirect.com particulate matter with an aerodynamic diameter of less than or equal to 2.5 micrometers, PM 2.5, has emerged as a major air pollutant, who 2021, contributing to environmental, 14 PM 2.5 and endocytosis, differences in cellular and molecular processes and exposure to PM 2.5 and O3. ScienceDirect.com PM 2.5 infiltrates cells via endocytosis without causing damage to cell membranes.